Bout Time with Rashansbouttimeboxin, aka Mr. Trill 100 Mil. What's up to my Bout Time Boxing family and the Trill 100 Mil gang? Thank you to every single one of y'all who has been taking out the time to watch the videos, like the videos, share the videos, and leave the comments. If you have not already subscribed to the channel and you're watching this video or any of my videos for the first time, please subscribe to the channel. Encourage others to subscribe to the channel. And don't forget to hit that notification button to stay up on the latest with Rashansbouttimeboxin. For all of the channels that I rock with and support will be in the description box below. So please check the description box and subscribe to and support the following channels that will be in the description box. Before I jump into the topic at hand, I just want to say, excuse me, rest in peace, man, to PnB Rock, who was from, my city, Philadelphia. He was murdered in broad daylight in South Central Los Angeles and inside of Roscoe's Chicken and Waffles. Allegedly, they tried to, some people or persons came and tried to rob him. And they said it happened shortly after the female he was with, gave up his location where they were at. And they came in and robbed him. And like I said, I still see the image of him, fighting, trying to hold on to his life, bleeding out, on the floor, and the people inside Roscoe was trying to help him. It's unfortunate, he was 30 years old, he had 2 children. Sad, man. Everything he worked for is just, it can be gone just like that. So I said my condolences go out to his children and his family. And just got to be careful out here, man. Y'all be careful how y'all moving, and the type of company y'all keep, type of circles that y'all in. So like I said, just be careful, man. Rest in peace to PnB Rock. All right, so October 8th, Conor Benn and Chris Eubank Jr. is scheduled to fight. All right, and they're meeting at a catchweight because Chris Eubank Jr. Fights at super middleweight, 168. Conor Benn fights at 147, and I believe junior middleweight, or middleweight and welterweight, if I'm not mistaken. But their fight now, Conor Benn campaigns currently at welterweight, so all his, he campaigns at welterweight. But yeah, like I said, so they're scheduled to fight October 8th. And this fight, I believe is going to be a lot more interesting than people, think. Because this is, it's a rivalry behind this thing, with their fathers. Chris Eubanks and Nigel Benn fought twice. They fought in 1990 and they fought in 1993, if I'm not mistaken. They fought in October of 1993 and they fought November of 1990. And the first time they fought, Nigel Benn was stopped in the 9th round by Chris Eubank, and then the second time they fought to a split decision, a draw. Okay, when they fought in '93, second time they fought. But now, I don't know if you guys may have seen the face-off thing. So they did the face-off, and even at the press conference, Chris Eubank Jr. said, this fight is personal for him. And he said if he loses this fight, that he's even going to retire. So this is how personal this fight is. Because he said when he was a kid, he remembered the disrespect from Nigel Benn. Now, when I was growing up, I remember, I didn't like Nigel Benn as a fighter, because I knew Nigel Benn was dirty. Like he was a dirty fighter. And you got to remember, he was the last person that Gerald McClellan fought, when Joe McClellan actually went blind in that fight. And he was, you know, Joe McClellan still, you know, messed up to this day. And when he, you know, when he fought Nigel Benn, whatever happened in that fight, you know, and Nigel Benn was fighting dirty in that fight, headbutting him and all that type of stuff. But Joe McClellan went blind, and when he was in the hospital, he was so messed up. He didn't even know that he was blind. He was like asking people when he was going to fight again and all that kind of stuff. And Roy Jones was the only fighter who was actually helping Joe McClellan, like, paying his, paying for, his medical bills and, looking out for him and, just giving, his family money and stuff to help take care of him. You know what I'm saying? So that's how serious, that injury was. But like I said, I remember Nigel Benn was a dirty fighter, man. But Chris Eubank Jr. said he remembered his father, his mother happened to take care of his father, after the fight, and how he like lost like half or part of his tongue or something like that. But he said the thing that stood out the most to him was when Nigel Benn said that he hated his father. And he was like, wow, you hate my dad? Okay. But now it's funny because Chris Eubank Jr., when they asked him how did he feel about Nigel Benn, he said, about Conor Benn, he said he don't dislike Conor Benn and he don't hate him. He said, but it's personal because of what his father, because of what Conor Benn's father, Nigel, did to Chris Eubank's father. So he said it's personal because of that. Now they both feel like they got to settle this score once and for all. And Chris Eubank said that he has to make sure that the Eubank name stays over top of the Benn name in the sport of boxing. He can't let that happen. But now they're fighting at this catch weight, 157. And then there's a very slim rehydration clause in the contract. And now Chris Eubank's father is concerned about that, because I don't know if a lot of y'all remember, Chris Eubank had a son who also fought. He was a professional fighter. His name was Sebastian Eubank. And Sebastian Eubanks died, and rest in peace to him too, to Sebastian Eubanks. He was 29 years old. He died July 9th of 2021, 9 days shy of his 30th birthday in Dubai. And they said it was from him, because he was in, he was in the water, at, in the sea or at the, at the beach or something in the water, but he drowned. But they said he drowned from having a massive heart attack. So they said even if he wasn't in the water, they said they don't believe he could have been saved anyway. The heart attack was that bad. So they said it was that massive that he couldn't have been saved anyway. So now with this rehydration clause, the fight is already in jeopardy of being called off, because Chris Eubank Jr., they say he hasn't made that weight since he was a teenager. And his father, Chris Eubank, if you want to call him senior or whatever, he's concerned about that. And he said he already lost one son and he don't want to lose another one, because they said this is a very dangerous weight cut. And it is, especially with the slim rehydration clause. Because so the fight is at a catch weight of 157 pounds. And on Conor Eubank, even at the face-off and at the press conference, he was like, look, y'all called the weight. I mean, Chris Eubank and his team. Y'all, this is the weight y'all requested. So we responded to it. Y'all requested this weight. So this is what it is. Because Chris Eubank, now, Chris Eubank, man, like, listen, Junior, you gotta love his person. Listen, if y'all, a lot of y'all remember how Chris Eubank, his father, was when he was a fighter, how he would jump in a ring and just stand there and point at people and, do these different gestures and stuff. Chris Eubank Jr. is just like his father, man, in that capacity. It's just funny. Even at the press conference, like I said, I don't know if y'all seen the press conference or the face-off, he's the same way. He was like, I have to underestimate you. And on the night, I'm going to be 60%, but that's all I'm going to need to beat you. I don't have to be 100% to beat you. And then so Conor Benn is like, you're talking a lot of rubbish, you know, and you're going to get a shock on, you're going to get an almighty shock on the night. On the night, it's going to be a shock. You're talking rubbish now. Oh, you're making excuses. Oh, you're 60%. Because now remember, Chris Eubank Jr. said if he loses this fight, he will retire from boxing. That's how important this fight is to him. It's not about the money, even though he said he's getting paid a lot of money. But he said it's not about the money. He said this is about legacy. This is about respect. This is about disrespect. It's about my family name and his family name, and Eubank and Ben. We got a history. And now we got a chance to make this thing happen all over again. And even Conor Benn was saying, like, what are the chances that, you know, my father and his father fought, but then now their sons are in the same era, you know, where they can actually, you know, fight each other. Because Chris Eubank Jr., he's 32 years old, and I think 32 years old, and Conor Benn is 25. I want to say he's 25 years old. So, you know, that's what he was like. So, what are the chances that our fathers fought, but then now, the chance of the sons of us being able to fight each other, you know what I mean, in the same era, like how their fathers were able to fight in the same era. So, you know, they both said it's not about the money. There's no titles at stake or nothing like that. So, and they're both taking this fight personal. But if you watch the press conference and you look at the face-off and all that, Chris Eubank Jr., it's like, and I don't know if this stuff is like psychological warfare, it's like he's trying to win the fight, you know, before he gets in the ring, by saying, you know, like, he's only going to be 60%, but he's, you know, really going to be 100%. So if he loses, then it's like, all right, well, I wasn't 100%. But then if he beat him, you know, oh, I was only 60% because I had to do the weight cut. But again, he said he don't need to be. He said 60%. His 60% is more than enough to beat Conor Benn, at Conor Benn being 100%. Now, if he is, now he did say that he did come out and say that he's underestimating Conor Benn and he is taking him light. Now, could that be a mistake? Absolutely. Now, even though Conor Benn, I think, is 5'8", Chris Eubank Jr. is 5'11", I believe. I think they might have him listed as like being like 6 feet or something like that. But if he's really underestimating Conor Benn, that is a mistake. You know, Conor Benn is one of them guys, like, he's not the most technically sound or skilled fighter, but he has enough skill. He's a good boxer. He's a good fighter. He's a good fighter, and he definitely has a puncher's chance. There's no question about it. He has a puncher's chance. He's 21. He's 21-0 with 14 knockouts. And I believe in his last fight he fought what's that guy's name? Chris Van Heerden. He fought Chris Van Heerden, and then he got Chris Van Heerden, Chris Algieri, Samuel Vargas, and Adrian Granados, if I'm not mistaken. Those are the biggest names on his resume. And Chris Eubank Jr., he fought, what is his record? He's 32. He's 32-2 with 23 knockouts. All right, he fought, what's the guy's name? He fought Avni Yildirim. I've Neil Durham, Billy Joe Sanders. I know he lost to Billy Joe Sanders and he lost to George Groves. I've Neil Durham, Arthur Abraham, James DeGale. I think James DeGale fought. I think he fought Caleb Plank. He fought somebody, but those are the biggest names on his resume. James DeGale, Neil Durham, Arthur Abraham, Billy Joe Sanders, and gosh, I just said the other guy's name. That's it. That's all the names. So they both have, you know, like the biggest name for Conor Benn would be Chris Algieri. I think Chris Algieri's name is a little bigger than Chris Van Heerden, even though Chris Van Heerden fought Errol Spence. But Chris Algieri fought Errol Spence, fought Manny Pacquiao, you know what I mean? So, and then Billy Joe Sanders fought Canelo, you know what I mean? Arthur Abraham fought Andre Ward, a few other people, you know what I mean? So those are the biggest names that both of those guys had. And Samuel Vargas fought what's that guy's name? Virgil Ortiz. So he fought. It's late, so I'm trying to, you know, I'm trying to remember all this stuff. But yeah, so you know, so the people that they fought fighters, you know, with bigger names, you know, like I said, Errol Spence, Manny Pacquiao on one side, Canelo, you know what I'm saying? You know, Neil Durham, you know, for Canelo. And if y'all gonna give Canelo credit for beating Neil Durham, then y'all got to give it to Chris Eubank Jr. Then that guy, you know, it's a big name. Billy Joe Sanders, Canelo beat him, but he lost to Billy Joe Sanders, you know what I mean? So, but now, Chris Eubank Jr. is definitely a better boxer. He has the height, he has the reach. You know, Conor Benn, if you ever seen him fight, Conor just comes in because, you know, like winning, because he knocked out Van Heerden, he knocked out Chris Algieri, you know what I mean? So he knocked him out too. Adrian Granado's, I think he unanimous decision with him, but he knocked out Samuel Vargas too. So, but he throws like you can just tell him, he comes in swinging like wow, because his arms is not that long. You know what I mean? So if the fight is even made, because Chris Eubank Sr. is, you know, talking about, you know, pulling his son out of the fight or telling him to pull out of the fight. This is dangerous for you because now, once again, his other son, Sebastian, passed away. We don't know what it was that led up to that. Was it something similar, a dangerous weight cut that could have affected his body in that way? Because, you know, like, and the thing about it, people don't understand, when you start your body to make weight, that affects your body in different ways. And everybody's body chemistry is different. So people's bodies are going to be affected differently. But remember when Roy Jones went up to heavyweight to fight John Ruiz, and then he came back down to fight Antonio Tarver, and he had to lose like almost 30 pounds of muscle. See, it's a difference. If you got fat to burn off of your body so you can cut the weight safely. But when you're losing muscle, that's a whole different thing. And the only way you can cut weight without muscle and you can jump up and down in these different weight classes like that is you gotta be on something. You gotta be on something. There's no way you can do it naturally. And if you are going to do it naturally, it's definitely going to take longer than 8 weeks. And the fight is, you know, like we already at what, like September, this is what, the 12th or something like that, in September, 11th or 12th. So, you know what I mean? So you only got, you know what I mean, a few more weeks. You know what I mean? So that's going to be, you know, hard. I mean, so if the fight gets canceled, I wouldn't be surprised if the fight gets canceled. I hope it don't though, because I am looking forward to this fight just to see, you know what I mean, like if all of this stuff is, you know, just psychological, you know, if it's psychological, you know what I mean, war play that Chris Eubanks Jr. is trying to use on Conor Benn to throw him off, to throw his focus off. You know what I mean? Like, you know, oh, is he really going to underestimate me? So Conor Benn coming thinking the fight going to be easy, and then Chris Eubank Jr. wait for him to make a mistake and then capitalize on it. Boom. Like, you know what I'm saying? So, I mean, you know, and because, let me see, Conor Benn made his pro debut, I think it was April 2016. And Chris Eubank Jr. made his pro debut, I want to say, November of 2011, I believe. November 2011, I believe. Okay, so Chris Eubank Jr. has been around a little bit longer. Of course, that's why he has more fights, more experience. But that question still, is he really now for me personally, I don't believe he's really underestimating Conor Benn. I don't believe he is. Now, but the whole weight thing, like, you know, first I thought that, you know what I mean, but then I seen other, you know, I did more research, and then I saw there were other articles about this being a dangerous weight cut, you know, for Chris Eubank Jr., and his father is concerned about that as far as his, you know, his son's health and how he may be affected by it. So he said if his son takes his advice, then he's not going to fight October 8th. Excuse me, because like I said, that's a dangerous weight cut. You know, trying to come down, you know what I mean? I guess like 2 weight classes or something like that. You got to come down to 157. You know what I'm saying? And with that slim rehydration clause that's in the contract. So which means even if he makes the weight, he only can rehydrate up to a, you know, a small amount. And Conor Benn, he don't have to do that. He's going up. The only way that can affect Conor is after this fight, then he decides to, you know, to go back down to fight at 147. Now, how hard is it going to be for him to get that weight off? You know, when you're going up in weight, you can eat. But when you're trying to cut weight, it's a different thing. And anybody who ever boxed in the gym and trained, you know that that's a whole different situation. Whole different situation. You know what I mean? So, if I was Chris Eubanks Jr., I would be concerned about the weight cut. Because he's saying, you know, it is, you know, it's going, he said it, and he admitted, he said it's going to be hard for him to make that weight. It's going to be hard. But he said, you know, he's only going to be 60% on the night. I'm going to be 60% on the night. But that's all I need to beat you. He said, I'm not taking you serious, and I am underestimating you. And, you know, and Conor Benn, like, why? Like, you underestimate me. He was like, you think I'm going to be a walk in the park? Chris Eubanks Jr. with that biting satirical wit, he said, when Conor Benn said, you think I'm going to be a walk in the park? He said, on a warm summer's day, like, he really think it's going to be that easy. But depending on how he cuts the weight and if he can do it safely, but if he can, I'm telling you, I've seen people do that and they only got maybe 1 or 2, maybe 4 good rounds in them at the most. After that, everything is going. It happened to Chad Dawson when he fought Andre Ward. When he starched himself to come down to fight at 168, to fight Andre Ward for that payday. And Andre Ward don't really have no pop. He don't. I think he still only got 12 or 17 knockouts to this day. I like Andre Ward, but he's not known for his power. He's a boxer. Chad Dawson was a boxer puncher, but he knocked Chad Dawson out. You see what I'm saying? So, and that was from Chad starching his body. And if y'all saw that way in how he looked, drained him out. So when you drain yourself out, it takes everything out of you, and then you have nothing to go with. Your legs are weak, your body's weak, all that. So, you know, like I said, I don't know if the fight happens, who do y'all got winning? Me, I think it's a 50-50 fight. It can go either way. But if Chris Eubank Jr., if he go in that fight seriously underestimating Conor Benn, he has that puncher's chance. If he can catch him with one of them wild swinging hooks and hurt him to the body or clip his chin, and even though he's never been, you know, stopped or knocked down Chris Eubank Jr., you know, but Conor Benn said he felt like he can do it. But, you know, if Chris Eubank Jr. can cut the weight and be healthy, you know, on the night of the fight, and he can control the fight, you know what I mean? Use his size, his, you know, his height, use his jab, his combinations, his movements. He can offset Conor Benn and he can just outbox him for 12 rounds and beat him. But if he go in there underestimating Conor Benn, he could get clipped, especially if he's only going to be 60% and if his body is affected from him cutting that weight and with having that rehydration clause in the contract. So I guess we're going to see. But, you know, we're going to stay tuned. But drop the comments in the comment section below and let me know how y'all feel about this fight. Have y'all seen the press conference or the face-off? Y'all think Chris Eubank Jr. is entertaining, man? This guy is hilarious. I like this guy. He's funny. But anyway, drop the comments in the comment section below. Please don't forget to subscribe to the channel. And I appreciate all the support. You know, Rashansbouttimeboxin. Y'all can support the channel with a super thanks. You know what I mean? That's in the description box below. Or y'all can Cash App. You know, Cash App at Rashansbouttimeboxin, BOXIN. All the support is greatly appreciated. Thank you. This is all I got for now. To the next one. Love y'all.